Lansing's only sports station. The Game, 7:30.
Let's play.
Another year with that. The Game, 7:30 a.m. WVFN.
And a good Saturday morning to everyone out there in mid-Michigan. This is another edition of High School Rewind, the show that recaps the week that was in boys and girls basketball. And it's always brought to you by our title sponsor, Jeff and Chris Metz and Dowding Industries, as well as the Lansing Sports Commission. Now, Dowding Industries are always interested in individuals that have the drive and desire to be successful in work and in life. Check them out at dowdingindustries.com. You may find a successful future here. That's Jeff and Chris Metz. And the Lansing Sports Commission. No matter the sport, the Lansing Sports Commission can make your next event your best event. Plan on something greater. Find out more at lansingsports.org. Megan Zemer has a great staff there at the Lansing Sports Commission. Well, this is the recap show for high school basketball for this past week. Man, so many close games, so many overtime games, and this week was no exception. I mean, my goodness. Just last night, let's see. Ionia and Eaton Rapids went overtime. Ionia was able to win that one. Ionia's had some good teams in recent years, the last 3-4 years. 54-52 in overtime. DeWitt beat Mount Pleasant in overtime, 49-45. A lot of people thought DeWitt would be down without Bryce Kearns, who was one of the best players in school history. They're off to a terrific start. They're 4-0 now after beating Mount Pleasant on the road, 49-45. Coach's son, Adam Flannery, he had 22 points, including 10 of those in the overtime period. How about Garrett Gruey, 14 points and 13 rebounds. Other close. There are a lot of other close games. Some blowouts, but there's just the amount of close games. Williamston over St. John's. Williamston went up to St. John's. St. John's put up a good fight, but Williamston's off to a good start this season. They are 3-1. They were able to win last night. Ben Smith had 16 points to lead the Hornets. Leslie in a 3-point game over Manchester. That was just those were just the close games last night. On Wednesday, arguably the game of the week in the mid-Michigan area, as it turned out. It was a whale of a ball game, 59-55. Langsburg goes to Pewamo, Westphalia, and wins at PW for the second year in a row. Performances of the week, probably by the best players on both of those teams. Xander Woodruff, 39 points to lead Langsburg to the victory. Grady Eklund, 36 to lead PW. And Langsburg's got the upper hand right now in the CMAC at this point. Along with Perry, who is undefeated as well. And Fowler, undefeated in league play as well. But they are 3-1 overall. Taking a look at the undefeated teams around the mid-Michigan area at this point. Well, East Lansing, they won easily again last night. They are 3-0. DeWitt, a surprising 4-0. And another team that's a surprise to many, considering they lost 3 of their best players to transfer. And that's the Okemos Wolves. They are... excuse me, folks. Had to sneeze there. Live radio, baby. It happens sometimes. How about Okemos? Winning at home over Howell, 71-59. Brennan Walton, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Colin Walton, another double-double, 18 points, 11 rebounds. Jeff Wanch doing a very good job, keeping them competitive, off to a terrific start. Another team that's off to a great start, well, that has to be Waverly. Last year's CAAC Blue champions, but got beat in when they were on. They were the best team in the area, most talented, but got beat in the district finals last year. But they're off to a terrific start this year. Derek Thomas, the second, he's a sophomore. All he did was score 37 points on Tuesday night, beating Flint Carmen Ainsworth 91-79. Deontay Pfeiffer, 21 points in that victory on Tuesday night. 7 rebounds, 6 assists to go with that, so almost a triple-double. Keenan Harris had 15 as well. Trey Miller had 10. And Waverly, this is a team, they always have good athletes. They always have tough kids on their team, and they are always competitive. And it looks like it's more of the same this season on the boys' side. And Waverly's going to be playing later today at the Moneyball Invitational. And by the way, on the other side of this break, of the first break, I will be talking with Desmond Ferguson, the owner of Moneyball Sportswear. This is the 5th Moneyball Tip-Off Classic is today. And we got 6 games, all games involving area teams. We'll go through the lineup here several times before we get off the air today. And it's really a great thing. I didn't know it was the 5th annual. I thought it was only the 2nd or 3rd annual. But this is the 5th year in a row. Games start at 12 o'clock over at Holt High School. Doors open at 11 o'clock, and I believe it's $10 to get in. We'll ask Desmond Ferguson all the pertinent information, what you need to do to get in there to Holt High School to watch all-day basketball over at Holt High School, the Moneyball Tip-Off Classic. All right. Let's take a look at the girls, and we got more undefeated teams in the Mid-Michigan area so far. It was the first week of action, by the way, for the girls, starting a week later from the boys. Teams like DeWitt, East Lansing, Hazlitt, Ionia, Portland, Lakewood, they're all undefeated so far. Ovid Elsie is 3-0 on the season. Perry is 2-0 on the year. Leslie is 2-0 on the season. And talked about DeWitt a little bit. DeWitt beat Mount Pleasant 53-37. Maddie Ewell, 13 points. Coach Bill McCullen has another terrific backcourt with Tara Kearns and Maddie Ewell. They are both juniors. They are 3-year starters in the backcourt. Tara Kearns, 22 points the other night in a big win at Ann Arbor Pioneer, one of the biggest schools in the state enrollment-wise. She had 22 on Tuesday night. And East Lansing with Tori Brooks, the East Lansing and DeWitt alum who coached at Holt last year, comes over to her alma mater, or one of them anyway, at East Lansing High School, her first year there. They're off to a good start. They beat Pewamo Westphalia 45-33. Kudos to both of those teams willing to play each other. That's what's so great about girls basketball in this area. The top teams in this area, no matter what class pretty much, are willing to play each other. They're not afraid of playing. They'll play anybody, anytime, anywhere, regardless of class. Sometimes you'll see Division IV teams like Fowler or Portland St. Patrick play a Division II. They'll play Division III schools a lot, but Division II or in some cases Division I schools. So they're just not afraid to play anybody, and they'll play everybody. Portland's off to a good start. They beat Richland Gull Lake on Tuesday, 51-43, and they were victorious last night, beating Olivet easily, 48-19. Malia Thalen, 11 points to lead Portland. She was a sophomore last year. She's a junior this year. So experience. Portland was a little bit down by their standards last year after getting to the quarterfinals 2 years ago and winning the state championship 3 years ago in the COVID year. But Coach Jason Haidt has them back and playing very, very well right now. The game we were at last night, and I say we because myself and our regular 1040 guest, that's Brian Calloway, the prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal. We were at Mason High School to watch Mason and Hazlitt. And Mason projected to be one of the top teams in the area this year on the boys' side. With most of the players back either from injury or they didn't lose very much. They got almost everybody back. 8 of their top 10 players were back, and they were very, very good last night. Steady and consistent scoring. Levi Stambaugh, Luke Marlin, and Kason Carswell all had 13 points or 15 points apiece. Leading the way for them in the victory over Hazlitt, 74-43. Just a better team all night long. And Mason is 2-0 on the season. They did not play last week because, you may remember these names from football season. Connor Osipchuk, Caleb Parrish, Kason Carswell, Nick Wells, Tyler Baker. Colin Winters played a little bit last night. So a lot of their roster, about half their roster, were football players. And good coaching decision by Coach Lee Chaney to not play the opening week, to let the football players finish their season. They went all the way to the state championship before losing to Grand Rapids Forest Hill Central, and then not play the opening week and then play in week 2. And so they're off to a very good start as well. This is High School Rewind on the game 730 AM WVFN, the weekly show that recaps the week that was in boys and girls basketball. Jumping around a little bit here on the boys' side, surprise teams. Perry 4-0 overall, 2-0 in CMAC play. Fowler is 2-0 in CMAC play. They are 3-1 overall. Weberville has already played 5 games this season, 5 of the allotted 22 in the regular season. They're 4-1 right now. Vermontville Maple Valley, they had one of the wild wins of the week. They were trailing Lansing Christian in the final seconds by 2. One of their guys, I believe it was Landon Wilkes, who got fouled on a 3-point shot in the final seconds, literally 1 or 2 seconds left. He got fouled on a 3-point shot, down by 2, hit all 3 free throws in the final 2 seconds to give Maple Valley the win. And they are off to a very good start. They're 4-1 on the season. Stockbridge, 3-1 on the season. Other teams, Ionia, 3-1 on the season. Charlotte is 2-1. Olivet, 2-1 on the boys' side. So, very competitive teams, other than the undefeated teams on the boys' side. And, again, on the girls, the defending state champs in Lansing Catholic, they opened their season today. They did not play at all this week, but they're at Detroit Renaissance today. Lansing Catholic projected to be the number 1 team in the area heading into the season. They've got 8 of their top 10, 9 of their top 11 back from last year when they won the Division II state championship. They'll be opening their season today against Detroit Renaissance. But as the usual suspects, DeWitt, Hazlitt, East Lansing, looks like they'll be back, in the CMAC. Perry's off to a good start. Pewamo Westphalia. How about Ovid Elsie? Yeah, Ovid Elsie. They got to the quarterfinals last year, upsetting Dansville in the regional championship game. Yeah, let's mention Dansville with their terrific guard Megan Zeitz in the CMAC. But Ovid Elsie, they're off to a 3-0 start. Leslie is 2-0 on the season. I mentioned Portland. They are 2-0 overall. Lakewood is 2-0 overall on the girls' side. Coming up next week, we'll have a lot more. We'll have coaches interviews starting next week. This past week really wasn't. The first week last week really wasn't possible to do it, but thankful for Eric Doc Love and Brian Calloway for joining me. And coming up on the other side of this first break, here in a couple of minutes, Desmond Ferguson, the owner of Moneyball Sportswear. He's put together the Moneyball Tip-Off Classic, and we'll talk about that coming up on the other side of this first break. 6 area games, and we'll go over the list here. Stockbridge is playing Detroit Henry Ford. That's the very first game at 12 noon. And then right after that, scheduled to start at 1:30, but it'll probably be after that. Everett against Bridgeport. Everett is off to a 1-0 start as they along with Mason did not play the opening week of the season. They're playing Bridgeport in game number 2. Mason, who played last night against Hazlitt, they play Adrian scheduled at 3:00. And then the homestanding Holt Rams will play the defending state champions in Division 1. Detroit Cass Tech, the Technicians, they are without Darius Acuff, who is one of the best players in the state. He opted to leave Detroit Cass Tech to go to an academy to play this season. And then we got 2 area teams playing each other. Waverly against Sexton, the old CAC, Capital Area, the Capital Area Conference. Waverly and Sexton no longer in the same league, but big-time rivals in this area. And then in the final game, Grand Ledge against Saginaw High. Of course, they produced Draymond Green, Charles Rogers, many great players throughout the years for the High, as they call it over there, Saginaw High School, the Trojans. That gets everything finished up at 7:30. But Grand Ledge is off to a good start as well. They are 3-1 on the season. So that's what's coming up today. Let's go over the other schedule, the schedule of games. Talked about that. Oh, by the way, Weberville is playing. They are at Sterling Heights Parkway Christian. The other 6 games that involving area teams, I just mentioned, they're part of the Moneyball Tip-Off Classic. Taking a look at some of the action on the girls' side, Hazlitt is playing Clarkston today. I mentioned Lansing Catholic getting their season underway at Detroit Renaissance. East Lansing is at Grand Blanc today. Sexton is playing Ypsilanti Lincoln. And Grand Ledge, they lost to Petoskey in the opening round of the Petoskey Invitational. They are playing Hart today. They played either 11 a.m. or 12 o'clock to finish out the two games that they have there. Grand Ledge girls struggling. They are 0-2 so far. We'll take our first break. We will come back, and we'll talk with Desmond Ferguson, the owner and the proprietor of Moneyball Sportswear, and we'll talk about the Moneyball Tip-Off Classic that's coming up. That's today, beginning at 12 noon. And doors open right when we get off the air here at 11 a.m. It's High School Rewind on the game 730 AM WVFN, brought to you by Dowding Industries and by the Lansing Sports Commission.
The love of the game draws us to sports, as players, coaches, spectators, and officials. For officials, it's a way to stay in the game they once played, to feel the thrill of putting on the uniform, stepping out of the playing surface, hustling to make the call, and building the relationships which can only be built in sports. If you still have that love for the game, we always need new officials. Register now at MHSAA.com. A message from the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics.
Welcome to Be the Referee with MHSAA registered official Paige Winnie.
We're on the volleyball court today when my teammate's second touch sends the ball towards the bleachers, still on our side of the net. I take off running to attempt to hit it over and jump on the first row of the stands in order to reach it. I am able to volley the ball over the net, and remarkably, it falls to the floor untouched for a point. Or is it? It is not. The bleachers are not a playable area in volleyball, so my hit wouldn't count. It would actually be a point for the other team. Despite my best parkour efforts, it's all for naught. With player safety in mind, there are other unplayable areas in volleyball, including the area behind the benches and the space between the benches and the scorer's table. Before each match, the officials go over playable and unplayable areas with both coaches.
Thanks, Paige. You can be a referee. Go online now to register at MHSAA.com. Be the Referee is a part of the MHSAA network.
WVFN.
Well, welcome back to High School Rewind on the game 730 AM WVFN. Dowding Industries presentation of High School Rewind, also brought to you by the Lansing Sports Commission. Right now, very happy to be joined by the owner of Moneyball Sportswear. He has put together the Moneyball Tip-Off Classic. He's got some help from some other people, but this guy's the head of it all. He's Desmond Ferguson, member now of the Greater Lansing Sports Hall of Fame, former Detroit Mercy star, former Everett High School star. He played a bit in the NBA. He is Desmond Ferguson. He's my friend, and hello, Desmond Ferguson.
Good morning, Brock. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Not as good as you, but this is a day you've been fired up for a while now. I didn't know this was the 5th annual. I figured it was the 2nd or 3rd one, but when I look at the information, no, this is the 5th year of this thing. This is turning into maybe not quite like the Moneyball Summer League, but it's getting there, isn't it?
Yeah, so we started in 17, and 17, 18, 19. Obviously didn't do anything in 20 or 21. And then came back over at Hope. So Hope, been over at Hope. Last year was our first year, so this is our 2nd year. But, like everything we do, we grow, whether it's, Everett basketball, the Pro-Am, Moneyball Sportswear. Sometimes it takes a little time to get to the level that we want to get to, but, this should be the biggest one yet.
Yeah, I think it will be. Doors are going to open up as soon as I get off the air at 11 o'clock with the first game at 12 o'clock. Detroit Henry 4. And you wanted to have Lansing area teams playing teams from outside the area, the Detroit area, the Saginaw, Flint, Bay City, Tri-City area, and, places outstate area teams against outstate teams. Is that kind of the design of this whole thing?
Yeah, that's always the goal. Obviously with the conferences and being right here in Mid-Michigan, a lot of those teams play each other throughout the season and even non-conference games. Mm-hmm. So the goal is to bring teams from throughout the state to play Mid-Michigan teams, and that's what we've done again this year.
You have, and it starts with game number 1, Stockbridge against Detroit Henry Ford. And I was thinking, well, why is Stockbridge playing in this thing? They're halfway between Lansing and Ann Arbor. But you look at their record so far, oh my goodness, Stockbridge is 3-1. They're off to a very good start. They're worthy of being in this thing.
Yeah, they're much improving program, playing against Detroit Henry Ford, who Coach Flowers, always has his guys ready to compete. And, he's a little young and rebuilding, but that'll start the day off with and slowly but surely build up throughout the day for, obviously 6 good games. Yeah,
absolutely. Game 2 is Everett against Bridgeport. Everett off to a 1-0 start. They won earlier this week, playing game number 2 of their season. I mean, Everett's near and dear to your heart. You're an alum. A team that struggled last season for most of the year. But, man, I saw them at the end of the season, Des, and I tell you what, their season-ending record was 3-21. And yet watching them at the end of the season and in the district tournament, that was not a 3-21 team. They were a heck of a lot better than that.
Yeah, they were really young last year. But I think even with the losses they had last year, Coach Trey Adams did a great job of having those guys prepared. And they played hard for them, and that's all you can ask for. But now they have most of their team returning, along with adding some guys, so they'll have a much improved season compared to last year.
And they'll be playing Bridgeport. Scheduled 1:30. What's the interval in between games? 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
Well, it's really dependent on time. We got them scheduled
Gotcha.
every hour and a half. So probably that 10 to 15 minutes before in between games, but it really depends on how close we're running the schedule. Hopefully we can stay on schedule for the most part of the day and give teams enough time to warm up in proper time at halftime.
Yep, I got you. Yeah, because it's 10 minutes at halftime and normally 20 minutes in between games. At least that's the way it is with freshman, JV, and varsity usually. Game number 3 has Mason, one of the best teams in the area. Again, this season, they won last night. They're playing Adrian. Mason got most everybody back from last year's excellent squad, won the CAAC Red, and had they not had 2 of their best players injured, Kason Carswell and Luke Marlin, they would have made a deep run, or certainly a deeper run than getting beat in the district finals by Holt. This Mason squad, I saw them last night. They are a very well-balanced squad.
Yeah, I mean, you think about Mason, football just coming off that great run to the state championship game that they went to, and now I'm sure they got a couple guys that came late and on the basketball team, and they're going to pick off from where last year. So overall, Mason sports are doing well, and we're glad to have them in the Moneyball tip-off.
Yeah, they're playing in game number 3. And then game 4, scheduled at 4:30, the homestanding Holt Rams against the defending state champions, the Technicians of Detroit Cass-Tech. Now, I know Cass-Tech doesn't have Darius Acuff, who was their best player and led them to the state title last year. But, man, you get somebody out of the Detroit PSL, the public school league, to come here. That's absolutely big time. And Holt is off to a decent start. Just 1-1 on the season. But, they were a team that surprised everybody by getting to the regionals last year. Came back from 22 down to beat Okemos in the district semifinals and then upset Mason in the district championship. I believe that was an overtime game to get to the regionals. And Holt's always competitive.
Yeah, always. So that looks to be a good game. Obviously, state, like you said, Cass-Tech won the state championship, last year, Class A. Coach Muhammad El Amin, who's, obviously won a state championship here at Holt High School.
Oh, yeah.
Had a great college and professional career. He's at the helm now. So that should be a good matchup for the home team of Holt coming in. And then, with Cass-Tech coming in to play him. Yeah,
that's big time to get somebody from the PSL to come here. All right. Waverly and Sexton, the only game that has 2 area teams playing each other. Waverly off to a very good start, and Sexton with alum DeLeon Deering and top assistant Dale Beard. Kind of is like a mentor coach. Love Coach Beard. Hi, Coach Beard, if you're listening. And Waverly's off to a good start. Coach Rod Watts. Waverly is a school that always has good athletes. They always have tough kids. Sometimes they have, there's years they have really, really good talent, but they are consistently good every single year, and they're off to a very good start. Derek Thomas II off to a fantastic start. All he did was score 37 earlier this week against Flint Carmen Ainsworth. This should be another good one between 2 area teams, Waverly against Sexton, former conference rivals.
Yeah, so, they no longer play each other during the regular season, so for them to be able to meet up and play in the Moneyball Tip-Off Classic is great. And as you mentioned, Coach Rod Watts, always has his teams ready and prepared, and they play hard, and look like it's going to be another good season for them. And then Sexton, I think they'll have a improved season on last year, some really good guard play. So I think that'll be an exciting game for the area and Lansing folks to check out.
Yeah, and then the last one, scheduled 7:30, Grand Ledge, who's off to a good start. Again, they're 3-1 on the young season, playing the High, as they call it, Saginaw High, the Trojans, and in the final game, Grand Ledge, almost won the Petoskey Invitational last week, but they're off to a good start. Again, they were very good last year with Teddy Williams. This year, Elijah Hendricks, who they hope to have for the entire season, and Grand Ledge, good program. Luke Charter, second-year head coach. They're off to a 3-1 start. This is a good capper to a big day of basketball.
Yeah, it's great to see my guy Luke over there. Got the nod for the head job officially. Over the summer. So I know his guys will play hard and they're looking to continue to improve and has a good team. And you talk about Saginaw, coming off Final Four to the Breslin last year with some returning guys and some really good guard play. Coach Julian Taylor always does a good job and has good talent down there. So got to be the finale and it should be a good game.
Yeah, and the city of Saginaw, like a lot of the city of Flint, they've had a lot of enrollment issues, lack of enrollment, dropping enrollment, but they're still able to hang in there and be very, very competitive. Of course, Saginaw High alums, Draymond Green, the late great Charles Rogers, and big time to get some of the big programs in the state of Michigan. Man, you do some tremendous I knew you were a tremendous networker with people, but that's impressive to get somebody from the Tri-Cities like Saginaw High, prestigious program, and then to get Detroit Cass Tech out of the PSL to come here. That's big time. Nice job, Des.
Yeah. As you mentioned, man, it's all about relationships, and both of those teams we've been able to do their uniforms over the years. Coach Julian Taylor, Steve Hall, and even Detroit Henry Ford, Coach Flowers have been loyal and consistent, Moneyball customers. So to be able to get them in the Tip-Off Classic as well is great. So just looking for overall, great day of basketball.
Yep, and the MHSAA deciding to extend the regular season or expand the regular season to 22 games allows for more invitationals like this. Usually you see jamborees like this around the, in between Christmas and New Year's. You see a lot of them in the Detroit area, and they get teams from all over the state. But with it expanding, starting with last season, going from 20 to 22 games, allows for more of it for outstate teams. I know you and I have talked about that. I know you're an advocate of expanding the regular season, possibly even to 24 games. Mark Ewell told me last year that going to 22 games was really kind of a trial balloon. They were going to, go to 22, see how it works, and then possibly go to 24. And I would be okay with going to 24. The COVID year showed, Des, that kids can play 3 games in 1 week, and it's not going to adversely affect them physically or mentally.
Yeah, I definitely think we need more games. There's obviously a small jump from 20 to 22, but if we can get that 24 to 25, that would be great. You look at the surrounding states when you talk about Illinois and Ohio and Indiana and how many games they play in a regular season compared to us. And then obviously, I'd love to see that shot clock get involved with the high school level as well, too.
Yeah, a lot of people, people are almost split down the middle on that, but it didn't used to be split down the middle. Most people were against it, but a lot more people are for it. I see both sides of the argument there. It'd be interesting to see, but hey, it allows for stuff like this. It allows for schools like Mason to host their own holiday tournament. You didn't used to see that a whole heck of a lot because of the 20-game schedule, but with 22, it's expanding. These types of things are expanding. The fifth annual Moneyball Tip-Off Classic today at Holt High School. It's over there on Holt Road. You know where it is, 5885 West Holt Road. 6 games. All right, starting at 12 noon with Stockbridge against Detroit Henry Ford. All right, Des, how much does it cost? What do people need to do? Is it cashless? What's the deal with all of that?
Yep, so doors open at 11. It's $10. You can watch 1 game or all 6 games for that $10. Children 5 and under are free. Cash and cash at the door. Okay. Oh, all right. And you will have concessions? Yes, we'll have concessions. That's what we hear early. Getting that together now and
right on.
Getting everything prepared for the day.
Yeah, I know this is a labor of love for you. I know you've wanted to do something like this, not just the Moneyball Pro-Am, but because of your success at Everett High School. Got to the Breslin Center a couple of times. Quite a few years ago. I don't want to say quite a few years ago, but a number of years ago. This is really a labor of love for you. I know your family's heavily involved in Moneyball. And, it keeps you, this kind of keeps you, connected to the high school scene in this area.
Oh, definitely. As soon as I stepped down from coaching at Everett, like I said, we did have the first initial Moneyball Tip-Off Classic on December 17th. So, yeah, this allows me to still be involved with high school basketball in the area with coaches or with kids and just being around and doing something that I love.
Yeah, you do. And this is a really, really great thing. So head out to the Moneyball Tip-Off Classic, folks. As soon as you get done listening to me, just blather on until 11 o'clock. Head over there. Doors will open right when I get off the air at 11 o'clock, and then the games start at 12 o'clock. Stockbridge against Detroit Henry Ford in game number 1. Des, congratulations on another great event. Congratulations on all your success with Moneyball. Of course, the Moneyball Summer Pro-Am is just turned into a huge, huge thing. Did you ever think that was going to get as big as it has gotten?
Yeah, that was always the goal. You know, those early years were struggling. You know, like I said, I was about to pull the plug for a minute just because it wasn't what I wanted to be. And, you know, the last, several years is obviously has been what we envisioned. So, yeah, where it is now, that was always the goal. Didn't know if we was going to get there, but it's good that we did get to that level. Yeah,
you have. And you found the right place, Holt High School, for it. Perfect venue, not just for the Moneyball Summer Pro-Am, but for the Tip-Off Classic, the 5th annual Tip-Off Classic that is today. Desmond Ferguson, owner of Moneyball, thanks so much for coming on. I'll be out there to see you a little bit later on today.
I appreciate it.
All right. The great Desmond Ferguson, he's the best, folks. Yeah, owner of Moneyball Sportswear. He's got 3 locations now. I mean, he's getting big time. He's got the store that opened earlier this year over on West Saginaw, on the west side of town, and the one in Meridian Mall, and then he's got one in the Detroit area in Southfield. So go check that out. Go check out those stores there. Yeah, Moneyball Tip-Off Classic starting at 12 noon today with Stockbridge, Detroit Henry Ford. Everett against Bridgeport. Mason against Adrian. Holt against Detroit Cass Tech. Waverly against Sexton. And Grand Ledge against the High, Saginaw High, closing it out at about 7:30 or so. Trying to stay on schedule. So hopefully they won't have much overrun with long games. But that's the one thing you can't account for. What if a game goes double overtime? Well, that will push everything back. $10. You can watch one game. You can watch 6 games. Any number of games you want, it's $10 to get in. So, hey, that's a fantastic deal to watch great basketball all day long in the Lansing area. All right, we'll take a time out and come back. Brian Calloway, the prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. He's coming up right after this break. You're listening to High School Rewind on the game 7:30 a.m. WVFN, and it's brought to you by the Lansing Sports Commission and by our title sponsor, Jeff and Chris Metz and Dowding Industries.
Lansing Sports Leader, the game, 7:30 a.m.
Welcome back to Dowding Industries' presentation of High School Rewind on the game 7:30 a.m. WVFN. Also brought to you by the Lansing Sports Commission. And we're happy to be joined now by the prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. He is Brian Calloway. And Brian, we touched on this a bit last week, but man, so many close games, so many competitive games. More overtime games this week, including what turned out to be a classic between Langsburg and Pewamo, Westphalia. Langsburg wins it 59-55 at PW. And the top players, the star players, man, they showed out. Xander Woodruff, 39 points. He's the senior for Langsburg. And then Grady Eklund, the outstanding sophomore for Pewamo, Westphalia, he had 36. Man, I wish I'd have been at this one. That sounds like that was an entertaining affair.
Yeah, no, definitely. I wish I didn't have jury duty that day too, because I would like to see that. I would like to see that game as well too. But yeah, I mean that was a good game, and it's crazy that those two teams are meeting so early on in the season and early on in the conference schedule as well too. But hey, the CMAC's got all those conference games that they have to get in, so It's got to work out some way as well. But yeah, I mean that was a very good game between those teams. I mean we had some overtime games last night too. I mean, Ionia and Eden Rapids went into overtime, and the CAAC wide opener. DeWitt went into overtime last night against Mount Pleasant and on the road and picked up a win as well, too. So, yeah, there have definitely been some good games on the early stages of the season, and then there's just been some impressive performances as well, too. and some dominant performances as we've seen from East Lansing so far in the early stages of the season as well, too.
Yeah, they're 3-0. They're off to a terrific start. Some of the other performances, other than the ones we just mentioned with Langsberg and Powama, Westphalia, Braylon Nobach, 30 points to lead Eaton Rapids to a victory earlier this week. But, man, Derek Thomas, the second, just a sophomore, all he did was score 37 points against Flint Carmen Ainsworth at home. Waverly, I just got done talking with Desmond Ferguson. Waverly's a team that always has good talent. They have good athletes that play basketball, that play multiple sports, and they got tough kids, too. And because of that, they're always competitive. But, man, Derek Thomas, the second, 37 points. Yeah, that's very noteworthy.
No, yeah, definitely very noteworthy. And, that team's going to be interesting as well, too, to kind of follow and to see how they fare in the very strong CAAC Blue, because, like you said, I mean, they do have some talent on that roster. Dante Pfeiffer is a guy that we've seen, making plays since his freshman year. They got, the Keenan Harris, a couple of other guys like that as well, too. So, I mean, they're a team that's going to be interesting, and, they're the defending CAAC Blue champion as well, too.
Brian Calloway, prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. All right, let's, before we talk about girls basketball, look at some of the records here. I mean, East Lansing, we figured they would be 3-0. We not really surprised. We figured Mason would be 2-0, and we'll talk about Mason in a second because you and I were at the Hazlitt game last night. But I got to tell you, I'm surprised about DeWitt and Okemos being undefeated so far. I know it's early in the season, but both teams are 4-0. And that's very noteworthy in the CAAC Blue. They're going to get into conference play coming up next week, but very surprising to see both of those teams at 4-0 on the season. DeWitt lost arguably the best player and one of their best players in school history in Bryce Kearns, and Okemos lost 3 guys to transfer: KJ Torbert, Brandon Mercer, and Trevor Smith. Trevor Smith. And Jeff Wanch has them undefeated so far. Very impressed by those teams so far.
Yeah, you look at Okemos and Brennan and Colin Walton. I mean, those two guys have been huge for them, with what they've been able to do in the early portion of the season. I mean, I think Brennan Walton had a triple-double in the win that they had over Sexton on Tuesday night as well, too. So, I mean, both of those guys have delivered some absolutely big performances, for Okemos. And then you kind of look at DeWitt and, Bryce Kearns, their all-time leading scorer, graduates. And, the coach's son, Adam Flannery, has stepped up and been a big player for them. I mean, obviously, he was a guy that made plenty of plays and was one of their top contributors in the past, but he's really stepped up for them this year, and they've had some other guys step up to help them get off to the start that they have gotten off to so far.
Grand Ledge is 3-1 so far. They were able to win earlier this week, but let's talk about Mason. They did not play last week. They got the season going this week, and very impressed. I mean, they'll play better opponents than Hazlitt. Hazlitt, a bit down this year, but at least so far in the early part of the season. But Mason, the epitome of consistent scoring. Luke Marlin, 15 points. Levi Stambaugh, 15 points. And Kaysen Carswell, 15 points. Very good performance. They missed 6 free throws, so they'll need to clean that up just a little bit, but impressed with the Mason squad so far this season. They're about as good as we thought that they were going to be.
They are, and, they were actually more disappointed about the way they played defense than anything yesterday. They thought they needed to clean up some things on that end of the court. But, you look at that team, and 3 of their top players are coming off injuries right now. I mean, Luke Marlon still, kind of working his way back from an ACL injury that sidelined him at the late stages of last season. Kaysen Carswell, obviously the football quarterback, has a toe injury that he's been nursing and that he's coming back from. And then, obviously Caleb Parrish, had the hand injury that we saw during the football playoffs, and he's still coming back as well, too. So, you got some guys that are still working through some things. But one of the things that Mason coach Lee Chaney was most pleased about last night was actually having his full team out there for the first time since early February last year, and that was when Kaysen Carswell went down with that collarbone injury that he suffered against St. John. So pretty much since that early February last year, they haven't had their full array of talent on the court. So it's going to be interesting to see what this team can do now that they're another year older, and also now that they have all those guys back, especially once everyone gets completely healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and there's still, like you said, still not 100% healthy. I forgot about the hand injury with Caleb Parrish. Other surprises. So, let's go to the CMAC. and some of the teams in the others category. Perry, surprisingly, off to a 4-0 start. First year in the CMAC, they're 2-0 in league play. Fowler is 2-0 in league play right now, 3-1 overall. That's a little bit of a surprise. Langsburg's no surprise at all. They're 3-0. Xander Woodruff, great performance against Poama Westphalia there. And some of the others category, teams like Weberville, who's 4-1 on the season, and Maple Valley, who's 4-1 on the season. They had to come from behind in the final seconds, hit 3 free throws with like 1 or 2 seconds left to beat Lansing Christian the other night.
Was in the regional final last year where they lost to Holt. So, obviously, them and Holt split in the regular season. Holt got the rubber match when they met in the regional final. Now, I believe it was Coldwater where we were at for that game as well too. But,
correct.
No, yeah, and DeWitt's going to be a team that's going to be interesting to watch, and obviously, I would say the favorite in the CAAC Blue based on the talent that they had coming back. And those 2 guards are very special players as well too.
Yeah, yes, they are. We've seen them. They are absolutely fearless offensively, and you absolutely love to see that. In the CAAC Red, they started league play. This week. Hazlitt's off to a good start, and teams like Fowlerville's 2-1. Williamston won their league opener there. And taking a look at that, and in the CAAC White, Malia Thalen leading Portland as they are on their way back. They're a year older after being a real young team last year. Lakewood off to a good start. And Lansing Catholic, the defending league champions, defending state champions, they're finally opening their season today playing at Detroit Renaissance. And most people feel that heading into the season, Lansing Catholic is the best girls team in the area.
Yeah, I would agree with that, too. Just when you look at the talent that they have back, you have a pair of all-staters back in Leah and Anna Richards. Then you have so much talent around them as well, too, and got girls that we have seen making their mark at the varsity level since their freshman year. You look at Gabby Hallowell. You look at Tessa Rowe. There are so many different contributors that they have. And, they have a bulk of their team back from that state championship squad as well last year, so they definitely are going to be a team to be reckoned with. And then I'm going to go back. You mentioned Hazlitt earlier in the segment as well, too. And, they're a team that's interesting as well, too, just because they lost their entire starting 5, and they've done nothing but start the season with a pair of blowout wins by at least 20 points over both Grand Ledge and Mason, which is pretty impressive, for them, considering that they have pretty much a new look with a lot of sophomores that are in your starting lineup leading the way, like Christiana Dixon and Caitlin Johnson, and then they have a few veterans that have been around as well too. But they're a much younger team this year, and they're showing that they could still be a pretty dangerous team once again.
And moving on into the CMAC, Perry is 2-0 on the season. They'll be getting into league play next week, and so we'll be watching for them. Wait and see what happens in the CMAC when the league play starts. But in the others category, Leslie is 2-0, and Ovid Elsie, who got to the quarterfinals last year, they have Ava Bates back. Coach Ryan Cunningham, Dr. Ryan Cunningham, has Ava Bates back for her senior season, and they're off to an excellent start as well. They're 3-0 on the season. Didn't see Ovid Elsie at all play until the regionals at Dansville. Boy, was I so impressed with them, and they got a lot of players back. Again, starting with Ava Bates from last season.
They do definitely have a lot of players back. Ava Bates, like you said, is going to Northern Michigan, so she's among the talent that they have coming back as well, too. And then, they have so many other pieces as well, too, around her that are back from that team that made the run to the state quarterfinals in Division III last year as well, too. And I would definitely consider them to be, one of the better teams in the area as well, too.
Brian Calloway, prep sports editor of the Lansing State Journal. All right, the Moneyball Tip-Off Classic is today over at Holt High School. And, I just talked with Desmond Ferguson about that. Hard to believe it's the 5th year of that. I figured it was only like the 2nd or 3rd year of it, but it's the 5th year of it. And this is turning into a really good deal. Desmond Ferguson, with all the great networking he does, able to pull in teams from the Detroit area like Detroit Henry Ford and the defending state champs in Detroit Cass Tech, as well as teams like Bridgeport and Adrian and Saginaw High coming in to play in this team, to play against area teams. It's only $10 to get in. You can watch one game. You can watch up to 6 games. And this is turning into a really, really good thing.
No, it is. And, when I talked to Desmond Ferguson about this earlier on in the week as well, too, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, this is only the second or third year, but yeah, it's the fifth year, and it actually started in 2017, and obviously they had a couple of years break because of COVID and whatnot.
Right.
But it's back up and running, and the biggest event of it yet with 12 teams, 7 from the area that are playing in it, and you talked about a couple programs from the Saginaw area, a couple programs from the Metro Detroit area as well too. Coming into Lansing, and a lot of talent will be on display at Hull High School later on today. And Detroit Cass Tech is the defending state champion in Division I. Actually, they lost one of their top talents in Darius Acuff,
right,
who was a sophomore last year, who is now at IMG Academy. But it would have been fun to see him play locally. But then you have Saginaw, which was a Division II state semifinalist last year as well too. So some very good basketball teams are coming to Holt.
So Darius Acuff went to IMG. I knew he went to an academy, but I didn't know it was the IMG Academy in Florida.
Yep, that's where he's at right now.
Yeah, he's very highly touted, and you saw him in the state finals, the semifinals and finals last year. That kid's the real deal. Too bad he, left Detroit Cass Tech, but you see a lot of kids, they want to play even better competition outstate and around the country. So you see this happen. Often, probably too often, but still, hey, you get Detroit Cass Tech to come here to play in the Lansing area. Yeah, you need to go out and see them. Of course, they're the crown jewel of the Detroit Public School League. Brian Calloway, Prep Sports Editor, Lansing State Journal, LSJ.com. Thanks so much for coming on once again. We'll talk to you same time, same station next week.
Hey, sounds good, Brock. Thanks for having me.
All right, Brian Calloway, Prep Sports Editor of the Lansing State Journal. We will get back to weekly action next week around the Mid-Michigan area. One of the games we are looking at next Friday night, DeWitt at Grand Ledge. That's one of the games we are looking at next week. Eric Doc Love, my broadcast partner, we will converse over the weekend, either today or more likely tomorrow, to talk about what some of the potential games. But we will be doing a game next week, and we will be doing a game the following week, the week right before Christmas time. Games we're looking at: Williamston at DeWitt, Grand Ledge at Holt, that Thursday, December 21st, because the majority of those games on the final week or the final day before the Christmas holiday, they'll be playing on Thursday, the 21st, so there's a good chance that we will be doing a game on Thursday. But again, we'll tell you about that. And then we'll take the week off for the holiday break between Christmas and New Year's, and then we'll have weekly coverage after the first of the year all the way until the end of the regular season. So that's coming up. Also, coming up today here on the Lansing Sports Network group of stations, coming up at 1:45 on 1240 WJIM, Michigan State women's basketball playing Nebraska today in the Big Ten opener. That's 1:45 today, 1240 WJIM. And then today here at 2 o'clock, we got a special treat for you. The very last game of the college football regular season, probably the greatest rivalry, not only in college football, but maybe in all of sports. It's the Army-Navy game from Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. I think it's the first time they've ever played that game in the Boston area. They always play it in Philadelphia, or they play it in New York, or in Baltimore. So the Army-Navy game, you'll hear it here. 2 o'clock pregame, 3 o'clock kickoff from Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, Massachusetts. And then at 6:45 here on WVFN, it is Detroit Red Wings hockey. And let's not forget the Michigan State hockey, as they are playing game 2 of their 2-game series against Notre Dame. Michigan State victorious last night, looking for a sweep as they play today at 5:30. So that's going to wrap it up for another edition of High School Rewind here on the game, 730 AM WVFN, brought to you by Jeff and Chris Metz and Dowding Industries, as well as the Lansing Sports Commission. Thanks to Desmond Ferguson, and thanks to Brian Calloway, the Prep Sports Editor of the Lansing State Journal and LSJ.com. And join us next week for another edition of High School Rewind here on the game, 730 AM WVFN, your trusted source for high school sports coverage.
WVFN Lansing Sports League.